Welcome to People Are the Point. I'm your host, Mark Concannon. Let's talk about the people. Thank you for joining me today. I'm your host, Mark Concannon, for the podcast People Are the Point. Today, my guest is Stephen Rhyne. I've been fortunate enough to know Stephen for some years now and experience firsthand his curiosity and positivity he brings to every opportunity. He loves taking on new challenges and applying his top-notch software, Conveyour, to engage client candidates, onboard new hires, and keep the individuals learning through their employment with his clients. He is also a father and husband that puts in the work to be present for those that mean so much. From helping with recovering doors to install in their home to chores across their 14-acre home outside of Austin, Texas, Stephen isn't just a CEO and architect of his successful software company, but also a contributing member of home life. Join me as Stephen and I talk about what brought him to the role of entrepreneur and founder, as well as his engagement with his family at home. So Stephen, I know you're an executive running, primarily focused on a software product. Can you talk a little about what you're doing today and what led you to this challenge to take on?
Yeah, so what we do today is I'm the founder of Conveyour. We are a platform that mainly helps companies with that want to grow large, technician or frontline worker field, sales forces or technician groups. And they needed to grow their team quickly. So recruit, onboard, train, and retain more of these people. Their typical roles maybe have a higher turnover than usual, than, a typical like W-2 employee job. And we've been doing this for quite some time, helping them, grow their team. So we position our system as a rep experience platform. So a platform that helps a rep or an agent or a technician understand the role from the very first time they hear about the role all the way through to getting onboarded in the company and then getting trained. And so I liked your podcast, title because, people are the point, and the point is the experience. So we're trying to flip the concept of, I as the company in the one with the supply of jobs, and it would be so good for you to come work for me, and it'd be a privilege for you to come work for our company. And that's sometimes the chip on the shoulder that some companies have. And we're trying to flip that around and say, no, to get the right talent, you have to position your opportunity really well, and you have to make that experience of them coming on board. That's the first taste that they have of your brand. And as tenure, I know I'm soapboxing here a little bit, but as tenure goes down in companies, this becomes more and more important that you get this right, because people are, good talents moving to different companies quite often. So you still have to hit your goals as a company over multiple years, and you might not have so many people staying on for a really long time. So my belief is that companies are going to grow in a different way, which is they're going to have people come in, do specialized work, and maybe not be there for 20, 30 years or 10 years or something. They're going to do their work, and then they're going to move on to where they're specialized. And so we support that.
You mentioned sales and technicians are two areas you see it applying well. I believe you've been doing a lot of work in the solar space specifically. Are you seeing that on both those fronts, or is it more on the sales side for solar? What have you seen fit well?
Yeah, in terms of the role in solar. So
where your tool has been fitting the best, where Conveyour has been good at engaging the workforce.
Yeah, so I would say primarily recruiting, onboarding, training, sales reps. But as they grow, they're growing their team, and they need to fulfill the offer that they're selling, and then that's when they get into technicians with us. So it's typically the road in is sales, and then later technicians.
Well, I think I see your point there too around so much of that recruitment process is that engagement, getting that buy-in of the individual, and there's such a shortage. We see this a lot in automotive right now, where technicians are in great demand. There's very short supply, and there's less of the workforce moving in that direction. So I think it's great that you've taken on that problem set and brought a solution to help bring that workforce in and then keep them for the right fit. Before you'd gone down the path for engagement around the sales force, you'd taken a focus on microlearning for some period. This feels like a really valid extension of taking that knowledge set and now making it an engagement. Is that part of what moved you in this direction?
Yeah, so we did prior to really focusing our attention, our effort on the outcome of growing, a field sales force. We really took we're going to be the best micro learning platform, for corporate America. And the concept of micro learning really is just, I would just say the way to distill it down is make training content, make describing your products, make just, explaining your opportunity, all of it, make it line up to the way people are used to consuming information now. Okay. And then plus add some more interactivity and make it effortful. So make your content effortful, help people recall the information that they've learned, like say like a week before, and put it in a format. Micro learning is really just around the format of maintaining that hook. So we've all watched good YouTube videos where they maintain the hook and they keep your interest. And interactivity is a big aspect of micro learning, which is, you watch a small video, you answer a few questions. Duolingo, I would call that an example of micro learning, where you learn a little bit and then you have to do some kind of exercise. And the exercise ultimate goal there is like, if you could just learn just by being told things and you didn't have to do the exercise, great. But we need to test our skills. And when we test our skills, that's when we pull it out of our memory or pull it and we have to try it and exercise it. And that's what makes us remember it. So the whole concept of like killing the forgetting curve comes from the idea of taking something that you learned weeks ago and trying to reapply it, which really instills the concept in your mind.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I know you've been a long-time resident in Austin, Texas, probably before it really became the growth hub it is these days around technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really been a lot. What drew you to Austin originally?
Yeah, so I'm about an hour just right outside of Austin in Canyon Lake, Little Podunk Canyon Lake. And so we moved 10 years ago, well, actually 11 years ago. And I initially went to South by Southwest and when South by Southwest was at its prime, in my opinion. And went to the interactive, really loved the tech scene there. I was relatively new to software. Everything was just exciting and, technology and everything. And so I loved South by, and I loved walking down 6th Street before 6th Street is what it is now, which is kind of like, it's going to go away, I think, eventually. But 6th Street was, live and bumping, and there was music, kind of like splashing out onto the street, from all of the windows and stuff, and great food trucks and everything. And it's like, this is like my Disneyland. So I really wanted to be in Austin. It felt like a sunny version of Portland with good tech. And my wife wanted land. And so we settled on some cheap, we have 14 acres here in Canyon Lake, some cheap land here in Canyon Lake. And then if I need to get into Austin, I can still go there. I'm an hour from San Antonio. So it's kind of a good deal. And I'm glad. I mean, Austin has grown so much, and so has our county, really. It's grown so much. If you've ever been to Rainy Street in Austin, man, 10 years ago, that was just a little, do you know Rainy Street? Have you ever heard of Rainy Street? Okay, so Rainy Street was just a street. There were all these little houses that had been turned into restaurants and bars and things like that. And it was really kind of sleepy but fun. And now there's just like these giant high-rise condos right next to, and hotels like right next to one of these houses. So it's all getting kind of replaced. So a little bit of the charm of that is going away. So, and
you also have a little, like a micro farm out there, at least with the animals, right, at home?
That's right. Yeah, we have, I don't know, I lost count, like 20-something chickens, 30 chickens.
Oh, wow.
Hogs, big old hogs. Yeah, 500-pound hogs. An orchard, a garden, like raised bed gardens and things like that. So, yeah, trying to do the whole... Yeah.
You tried to have porch pigs for a little while, but that wasn't a good idea.
You remember that? Yeah, we thought it would be a good idea to have Smokey. He was actually we tried to have this little like porch pig as a pet, and it got ridiculous. He started ripping up all of the beds, tearing up everything. It was bad. Yeah, they don't train like a dog, in my opinion.
Yeah, so the pig didn't work out as a pet on the porch, and you said they're 500 pounds now.
Oh my gosh, yeah, they're 500 pounds. They're insane, and they're so big. One thing that people don't understand about like hogs is you think of them kind of as herbivore. Yeah, you think of them kind of like as this docile herbivore, cow, right? But they're not. They're more like dogs in a way. So I mean, you give them chicken, and they'll just tear it up, eat it up really quick. I mean, they're savages. I mean, so and can be dangerous. Usually they're pretty docile, but they can move anything. They can rip fences over. It's amazing how much power they have. Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, you got excited by South by Southwest. It's inspired you. You wanted to come get more into the coding, but now your organization's a lot more mature. You're not starting from the ground up. So now, as an executive and leader of your organization, how much of your time do you put against coding? How much is more around sales and operations? How do you tend to spend your time to help your organization go to the next level?
Yeah, I think about this a lot because I think I've held on to the technology side longer than most people have because I really love it. I really love product. I love engineering. However, I have been aware of the fact that you can productively, as a leader, you can productively procrastinate in the thing that you are already good at. So if you're already good at it, I think it becomes kind of the backstop of, hey, if there's something that is uncertain, when your uncertainty is high, I think a lot of us, as founders, will go to the things that we know work or have worked in the past and stay there for a while until that uncertainty meter comes down a little bit, right? And I'm totally guilty of that. So engineering wise, I really love engineering. I love architecture. What I've really tried to lean in towards, I'd say only about 20% of my time is like actually in like engineering myself, engineering now. What I try to do is a focus on like the 10-80-10 rule. So 10% inspiration, 80% done by somebody else. Okay. And then 10% editor at the end. And I think a lot of organizations will jump to a full hire when really what they need to do is first give more of the 80% of the work to somebody else and buy back their time first doing that. And then work. So, Dan Martell he wrote a book called Buy Back Your Time. And his approach is, spend more time buying back your own time, buying back your so that you can have new inspiration and refocus what you want to spend your problems, spend your time fixing versus maybe it's like the baker who no longer gets to bake and is doing the admin and the taxes and the payroll, right? When he really wanted to bake. And so, yeah, there's a long answer to your question, but about 20% of my time is engineering now. And that includes, maybe if you add product in there, it's like 30 to 40% is still product. Product is probably my favorite thing.
And as you're moving, like you said, the baker who doesn't get to bake as much, do you find some joy and happiness in some of these other things that are now taking up your time? Or are you more trying to free up your time to think about the next inspiration, like you said?
Yeah, I don't find as much joy in scaling the business. So I find much more joy in scaling somebody else's business through my product. Okay. And then thus scaling the business as a result of the organization. So really, if I could have my way in business, I would solve the problems of the customers that have come our way, and that would be good enough. And then you would grow as a result of making massive wins for organizations that you've worked with and getting word of mouth and everything. Where I think that what I'm trying to move in now is really spend more time in the scale of the business. So bottling, packaging, and deploying the application to many more organizations. I'm a self-described kind of like Willy Wonka kind of person where you make something fun, you make a new thing that solves a puzzle, and then once the puzzle is solved in my head, I don't want to work on it anymore. I don't want to maintain it. I don't want to bottle it. I don't want to package it. I don't want to deploy it to other people or tell people about it. I just want to move to the next puzzle. And so I'm kind of really aware of that now, and I'm trying to surround myself with people and services that do that really well. At the same time, I have to be a leader and get better at understanding how that stuff is going to do and hire the right people to help me, do that. And so I am trying to buy back my time. I think the hardest part is, I don't know about you, but as a founder, you can get really down on yourself because you're the things you need to be doing. And you've kind of been like the armchair learner, like listen to all the podcasts, listen to the books and everything about marketing, sales, go to market, all of that. And a lot, but you just don't have the time to like execute and work on it. And so you can be in that for a long time. And I've said, you know what, I'm not going to beat myself up about that. I'm just going to get the margin in my calendar to then be able to work on those things. So it starts with the stuff I'm already doing versus like trying to beat myself up and go do the other stuff as well.
And you brought up an interesting point. Part of what I feel like I think you and I are kindred spirits in this way. We always want to be learning, right? As a piece of what I know I enjoy about the work that we all do. And you mentioned books a couple times. Do you read still, or do you listen to them now?
I'm 99% audible, reading. Okay. And I have a process like this. So I'll listen on I try to stack my habits, right? So whether it be walking and listening to Audible, or I make breakfast for my daughter in the morning. She's not in the room. Like if she was in the room, I'd talk to her, right? But she's, out doing something else before, and I'll make breakfast and I'll listen to Audible. And then I'll do a lot of Otter. So I'll stop the Audible and go over to Otter. It's a tongue twister. And just record what I've learned and just put it in there. And then I have these later on, I'll go in and search and like pull out, things that I've heard. So I kind of digest books really slowly. I'll listen to a little bit. How about you? Are you a binger? Do you listen to the whole thing really quickly, or are you more?
I only read.
You only read?
I like reading, yes, because I listen to podcasts, and that's a piece of my everyday consumption of news and other insights. I definitely listen to some podcasts that are more, learning oriented, that go beyond just current events. But when I'm really trying to take in a new topic, I still read. Now, part of why I like the reading, that I don't know how this works well for audio, is I want the highlights, and I want to be able to dive deeper on a topic that I found interesting in that area, but then skip I'm not big on the anecdotal stories they'll tell 10 of in every chapter, right? I want the highlight, I want maybe one example, and I want to move on.
Yeah.
So does the audio do well with allowing you to sort of stop?
That's interesting, right? Because for me, I gather from Audible is hearing stuff I've heard 3 times in a context that's going to get me to actually take action on it. So I'm really more focused on getting in the mindset or getting the inspiration from the book. And then that's going to make me take the action that I know I should have done, a while ago. Sometimes it's factual. Sometimes if I'm reading like a book on a profit and loss or like the simple numbers book I'm reading from Greg Crabtree, it very is technical. And I did buy the book. You're right. I did get the book so I could go through it. But oftentimes business books, they could be distilled down really quickly. For me, it's more about those anecdotal stories, because they're the ones that get me to have a context that connects to my past or something that gets me to actually make a change.
I think that's what I've been I'm trying to publish a book right now, and that's the challenge. I've been writing the book more for myself than for an audience, and everyone keeps going, no, Mark, you need more anecdotal stories. I'm like, that's the part I hate the most. I don't want those in there, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, that's probably tough.
Try to reinforce the point.
How much do you share? What are people listening? What are people grasping to? But I think the stories are the stories make it relatable and relatable to the author, and then it helps you go, okay, this person is a real person and a real human that went through real experiences like me, and I can draw from their experience and feel like I can too. I think it's about identity a lot of the time. Can I identify with this person? Well, and if I can identify with this person, I can also say that I can do it too.
And a piece of what you just highlighted too is also how, as we all know, being in the learning space one way or another, everyone learns different. So if I write it for how I would consume it, I haven't hit the full breadth of potential. So I think not only then, to your point, does it make me more relatable as an author, it also gives the learner a better opportunity to apply it to their own lives. I think that's all good advice.
Yeah.
So really quickly, I always love the story. When you guys were doing your house out there, you did reclaimed doors. Is that right? As throughout the house? I
have good memory. My wife is an architect and restoration extraordinaire person. And so she, over the course of, 3-4 years, ever since we got down here, has been going on wild goose chases all over, South Texas, Central Texas, to find these antique doors. And I think I've got a few Saturdays where I went to some tiny town like Almondorf or Floresville or something like that to find a door. And we've got 30 something doors, and they're all, she stained them all or stripped them all, scraped them all in the hot heat in the summer, and they're beautiful. Yeah. So it really adds a lot of character to the house. And we have a lot of different places she did that. So yeah, she would take wardrobes, like a big wardrobe, and she'd cut the back off of it. So you just had the facade on the front, and that would be the front of one of our closets in many of the rooms.
Oh, wow.
So a different way, right? Rather than having like regular closet doors.
Yeah, that's a great concept. I love that. And so obviously you're raising your family a little outside the city, but still close enough you guys have access to what the city has to offer. Do you find you make the time to go enjoy Austin as a family, or do you mostly focus on staying in the countryside and the farm and the house?
I'm really the only city slicker in the house. So my son August is a lot like me. He and I are the ones that are like, let's go do some cosmopolitan stuff, and really like the rest of the kids are, let's go out to Pedernales Falls, way out in the Nowhereville, and let's go. Like last week we went to, which is great to do if you ever get LBJ Park. So LBJ Park, Lyndon B. Johnson, you can go to the ranch that he had, down here, beautiful wildflowers. And they have like a living history farm, that is there, where they keep it all going and stuff based on how it was like when he was a child. And those will be like the weekend excursions. So we actually go to San Antonio more than we go to Austin, just because of the traffic and stuff. So I rarely actually get into Austin, honestly. I need to get into Austin more often.
So how about with the business? Do you find any of the kids have interest in what you do, and they want to follow their father's footsteps, or they are like almost anti-tech? Like, what's...
Yeah, I think they're a little squeamish of AI. So my oldest son is, and I keep talking to them like, hey, it's just a machine. Like they were scared of the steam engine when the steam engine came out, because you can kill all the aggregation, ag jobs. And look at all this now, not 70% ag or whatever it was, or 50% ag. So, but my son is actually going to work with us. So he's just graduating this year, and he has been doing a bunch of, coding courses and everything. He's an incredible writer already, better than me. I don't need to teach him anything on that. He's proficient in Latin and all of this stuff. So he's been classically educated, and I get to have him on the team. So he's going to come and help us with technical writing and, customer success, and, maybe some technical development, technical customer success stuff. So yeah, I'm excited.
That's exciting. That's really great. Well, I think that's what I had for us today to cover. Cool. Any other highlights you want to share with the audience today before we move on?
No, man, I'm set. Thank you, Mark, for having me. I love the concept of the podcast, and good luck, man. I'm looking forward to seeing it grow.
Absolutely, Stephen. No, I appreciate the time today, and it was great to share a little bit.
Thanks, Mark.